thank you for being here, and we thank Sister Janet above all. But the life of Sister Janet Mead.
The music industry benefited because Festival Records, correct me if I'm wrong, but Festival Records was a company that, through the royalties that they gained from recording Sister Janet, enabled them to put in a new mixing desk in there, and an up-to-date new mixing desk, which was state-of-the-art at the time. So you've helped a lot of people. You've been a wonderful friend to a lot of people, and you've been a saviour to a lot of people. And we admire you for that.
Why is it that I suddenly want to confess? Why have I got this urge to confess? We would be here all day if I did. Unfortunately, Tony Abbott couldn't be here. The sister and I were just talking about Tony Abbott. There is a devil, isn't there? Now, this is the official part of the proceedings. Sister, would you like to sit down, or would you like to stand up? Whatever you like. You don't want to sit down? This to me has been very humbling, and I'm not normally humble, I can assure you. It's quite amazing to be here, and I haven't met Sister Janet Mead before. We both worked at 5KA. Sister had a radio show. I tried to have one, she had a successful one. There are only three, this is quite amazing, 3 South Australian women who've sold more than 1 million records in America. Now, just ingest that for a minute, it's an extraordinary feat. 3, one is Orianthe, who's very young, very talented, she's been inducted into the South Australian Music Hall of Fame. One is Sia, who hopefully will be inducted one day, she's an amazing talent. And the other is Sister Janet Mead. Round of applause.
Enrico Morena is leading the group today with Gary Burrows, John Pemberton, Victor Marshall, Marcus Smith, Brian Vorton, my old school pal, and Peter T as representatives. You are very welcome, and we thank you for your presence with us today at our Day Centre Community Centre. I think that the Music Hall of Fame is doing something really worthwhile in recognising many musicians who've given service in enhancing other people's lives, because music does, doesn't it? I think it's one of the most important things. I accept the honour of this induction and do so here at the Adelaide Day Centre among all of you, because this recognises something about the contribution of the community effort we are all making here together, everyone. Without the Sisters of Mercy and the Rock Masses, this centre would not exist, nor would my life as a musician. I'd like to tell you about how I came to love music and about the people who influenced me, because I was so fortunate to know them. It started when I was 8 years old, when I decided that what I wanted most of all in life was to ride a bike and learn to play piano. I was at school at Sisters of Mercy School in Angus Street, and every day I would go up the cloister corridor and ask for the superior of the convent, and you can't imagine how frightening that is at that time. No one ever went there except the sisters. I was at school at the Sisters of Mercy, and every day I looked for the superior, and her name was Mother Xavier, and she looked to me to be about 100, because she was very thin and very wrinkled, and it was all the old gear, and so it was a bit of a nerve-wracking thing to do. So I used to do this every day. I wanted to learn piano, and she was the one who decided whether I did or not. So after I made a nuisance of myself for a very long time, she told me that the music teachers could not take any more pupils, as everyone at the time used to learn piano. Everyone learned piano, all the kids did. At last, a very old and quite sick sister called Sister Regis took pity on me and put me on as a pupil. That was the beginning of my love for music. I learnt piano for 7 years at St Aloysius, and the last year I was examined by Professor John Bishop, who was a very famous director of the Alder Conservatorium and a great friend of our head of the schools, Sister Carmel Burke. John Bishop was a very clever man. Apart from being a great musician, he was a very, very good organiser, and he started the Festival of Arts. Yep. He was the person who started by getting people from all around the world to come here to our festival, and he did that for the first year, and then the second year he was in Europe getting the next lot of people, and he died of a heart attack. But he really was a wonderful man. He started the youth orchestra, the UNESCO Pacific Music Conference, which was wonderful, and it showed all different kinds of music that came from all around the Pacific. It was absolutely wonderful. Sister Carmel Burke took me to, and it was really wonderful. I had a lovely time there, and very inspiring. She was a person who had the greatest influence because of her own extraordinary music gifts and her all-encompassing gift of mercy and compassion. My 7th grade results were good, and Professor Bishop recommended that I continue my studies and go to the conservatorium to study music further. I hadn't ever thought of doing music as a subject or pursuing it. I liked it. I thought I'd be do a Bachelor of Arts and teach in school, but Sister Carmel thought otherwise and believed I should teach music. I must add that I had decided to be a nursing nun at an early age, so that's why she was deciding. So in 1954 I started at the Con. When I went to be interviewed by Professor Bishop, he knew all about my piano, but Carmel wanted me to do singing. This was a shock to me, and Professor Bishop said, all right, sing a scale. So I was so nervous, I went, just like that. He picked up the phone and he said, Sister, he spoke very beautifully. He said, Sister Carmel, I think Janet should do violin. In the 60s, a great change happened in the church. Pope John the 23rd stopped Latin being used, as it was by that time very unintelligible to the people. It had been before too, but we suddenly realised it. He said that the Mass should be much more reflective of people's lives so that they felt support in their prayer. It was especially so in the lives of the kids who felt that even the legalistic translations into English were fairly incomprehensible. So in 1970 I started the kids preparing the Masses in their own kind of language, reflecting their own lives and aspirations and using the music of the time. The first rock folk Mass, it wasn't really rock, it was just electric instruments. It was more soft rock or folk. Was on United Nations Day, celebrated in our school hall. It was a resounding success, and these Masses continued until 1982 when I left St Aloysius. In 1972, Monsignor Aitken, who was and is a great friend and in charge of St Francis Xavier's Cathedral, conspired with me to start this kind of Mass in the cathedral itself. And that's the Archbishop's Church, you see. At the beginning of our knowledge of real injustice here and all over the world, so the protest songs of the 70s, hoping for more compassion and less injustice, were part of our lives. We've been singing original songs at all Masses, as well as songs of Dylan, Joan Baez, Pete Seeger, Simon and Garfunkel, Peter, Paul and Mary, the Weavers, many of whom had suffered exile and jail because of McCarthyism at the hands of the Committee of Un-American Activities, because they exposed the hypocrisy, injustice and fascist policies of America at that time in their music. So we learnt that it could be a dangerous thing to do, to sing, especially protest songs. We've been singing the Lord's Prayer in our Mass, Lord's Prayer, the Lord's Prayer in our Masses, and in 1973 it was noticed and became a worldwide hit through no one's fault. However, we had been singing it for about a year, so it was a bit old hat for us. All through the 70s and 80s we used music and drama in school at every level, music of all kinds. I haven't stopped singing up until now, and the original group, some here present, I'm sorry that the others aren't, but they're working. But where I live, that group is still playing music and we're singing together. And they should be getting this, I think, this award. So 43 years later, we're all making music to support Mass each Sunday, and we work each year at a musical to support people in projects around the world with the help of our centre men. Through the 80s and 90s, we ran youth groups in eastern and western suburbs in which we used music and drama to teach about the human rights abuses around the world. For example, these are the ones I can remember: East Timor, our own Aborigines, South African apartheid. That was a doozy. We did that in the eastern suburbs, best imagine. Oh, Bougainville, Irish hunger strikers, American bases, and Tibet. Some of these students have gone on to address abuses of human rights here in Australia and around the world. To me, a song is good if the truth is told and the attitude is created, and it's sung with conviction and the objective of enlightening, heartening, and lifting some people's burdens. I'm a firm believer in protest songs. Back in the 70s, we experienced a time of openness and creativity in all spheres of life. In many ways, it's the opposite now. It seems a terrible blanket of silence has come over us all. In the face of the evils of war, greed, inequality and lies, we must sing of truth. When things are not right, we must sing protest songs and voice our protest. When my recording in the 70s became such a worldwide phenomenon, it was very pressured. I've talked to John about this. A difficult experience for me. However, in the long run, it gave me the possibility to speak for people who don't otherwise have a voice. Music draws us together in a whole kind of way. When we sing together, we are a community. We can't face this world, which isn't very happy at the moment, alone. We must have a community about us somewhere, somehow. A community is never for itself. It belongs to all humanity, especially to the poor. The hopes, dreams and sorrows, struggles and works of a community find their natural expression in music, which is beyond mere words. Whenever we sing, we celebrate the triumph of resistance over injustice, hope over despair. We sing not only to change the evils of the world, but so they won't change us.